Hello everyone, I am Kimberly Reyes from Bachelor of Secondary Education major in Science 3D. Today is April 19, 2020. In today's video, we will just be having a quick review about anatomy and physiology, at the same time about integumentary system. So, let's get started. Let's now define what is anatomy and physiology. Anatomy is the study of the structure and relationship of all parts of the body, while physiology is the study of functions of the body parts and as a whole. Understanding anatomy and physiology is important because it helps provide clearer, more specific, and better communication between physician and other healthcare providers. For example, you are having back pain. The first question that your doctor will ask you is where it is located. With that, the doctor will have an idea what it may cause or how it is related to a certain organ that causes to be in pain, so that your doctor can give you a proper treatment. We'll discuss now the four basics reference system of body organization. These are the direction, planes, cavities, and structural units. Now let's focus on the directions. The first one is the anterior, in front of or front. Second one is posterior, after, behind, following, toward the rear. The distal, away from, farther from the origin. The proximal, near, closer to the origin. Dorsal, near the upper surface, toward the back. Ventral, toward the bottom, toward the belly. Superior, above or over. Inferior, below or under. Lateral, toward the side, away from the midline. Medial, toward the midline. Midline, away from the side. Now let's move on to the second reference, which is planes. We have four planes. The first one is sagittal planes that runs vertically from the top of bottom, and it divides the body into the left and right portion. The second plane is a mid-sagittal or median plane. It's a sagittal plane that perfectly divides the body down the midline. The prefix mid can remind you that it is right down the middle. The third plane is transverse plane. It's easy to remember because it is the only planes that runs horizontally, dividing the body or structure into top, superior, and bottom or inferior half. And lastly, our last plane is the frontal plane, also called as coronal plane. Is a plane that runs vertically from top to bottom and left to right, and it divides the body into front or the anterior portion and back or the posterior portion. Our third reference is the cavities. The body contains two major cavities, a larger cavity called the ventral cavity and a smaller cavity called the dorsal cavity. Let's now focus the dorsal body cavity. It is located the body of the body and it houses our central nervous system. The dorsal cavity can be subdivided into two main parts. The first one is the cranial cavity, which it houses the brain, and the second one is the vertebral cavity, which houses the spinal cord. Our second cavity is the ventral body cavity. It's the larger cavity located toward the front of the body, and it contains our visceral organs. The ventral cavity can be also divided into two main parts. The first one is the thoracic cavity, and the second one is the abdomen pelvic cavity, which are separated by the diaphragm. Our last reference, the structural units. A cell is the smallest independently functioning unit of living organism. All living structures of human anatomy contain cells, and almost all functions of human physiology are performed in cells. The second one is tissue. It's a group of many similar cells, although sometimes they compose of few related types that work together to perform a specific function. And the third one is organ. Is an anatomically distinct structure of body composed of two or more tissue types. Each organ performs one or more physiological functions. And lastly is the organ system. It is a group of organs that work together to perform major functions or meet the physiological needs of human body. Functions of integumentary system and its relation to the 10 organ systems. The integumentary system is the set of organs that forms the external covering of the body, consisting of skin, hair, nails, and the exocrine glands. Without skin, bones, muscle, and other organ in our body will be hanging out all over the place. That's why it plays vital role to human body. Now let's take a look to the different layers of the skin. The first layer is epidermis. It is made of keratinocyte. It is in constant work because at the bottom of this, your skin cells are forming. New skin cells move to your skin and replace older cells that die on the surface. Let's just have a trivia. Did you know that every minute of our skin loses 30,000 to 40,000 dead skins? Amazing, right? Another thing, have you ever noticed why our skin tone gets darker once we are exposed to the sunlight for a long period of time? It is because of melanin, a substance to our skin that protects us from UV rays. Our skin produces more melanin when we are exposed to the sunlight. That's why you get tan from sunbathing. Second layer is dermis. It contains nerve endings, blood vessels, oil glands that produce sebum that makes our skin moist and healthy. Sweat glands where our sweat produces and goes out to our furs. The third layer is subcutaneous layer, made mostly of fat and helps your body warm and absorb shocks. That's why if you fall, the less pain you feel. So, here are the functions of integumentary system. The first one is for protection. The skin protects the rest of the body from the basic elements of nature such as wind, water, and even the UV sunlight. The second one is the for sensory. The fact that you can feel an ant crawling on your skin, allowing you to flick it off before it bites, is because of the skin. And the third one is the thermoregulation. The integumentary system helps regulate body temperature to its tight association with sympathetic nervous system. Other functions of integumentary system are it stores blood, it excretes and absorbs substances, and it synthesizes vitamin D that is needed by our body. How does the wound heal? There are two types of wound. The first one is the epidermal wound and the second one is the dermal wound that penetrates the dermis. With this wound, there are three phases in order to heal this. The first phase involves homeostasis and inflammation, where fibrin and blood platelets form a loose blood clot to prevent further blood. And the second one, or in 2 or 3 days later, the proliferation and migratory phase begins. In the initial portion of this phase, the clot exterior dries, forming a scab. Fibroblasts infiltrate the wound and secrete collagen to strengthen the clot. And lastly, the third and the final phase is the maturation and the remolding phase, where the wound is completely healed. For the last part of this video, let's just first define what is homeostasis. It is maintaining a constant internal environment and involves maintaining stability in different body systems. When homeostasis is not maintained, the body cannot function properly and illness may occur. So, here are the illness occur when there is homeostatic imbalance. The first photo shows the stretch marks, the tearing of reticular layer of the dermis. The second photo is an example of bed sores, are areas of damaged skin and tissue caused by sustained pressure, often from bed or wheelchair, that reduces blood circulation to vulnerable areas of body. And the third picture is hirsutism. It is an excessive body and facial heat. Another example is athlete's foot. It is a fungal infection of skin, usually occurs in between the toes, common among who sweat in pit, work in moist environment for long hours. Another example is the contact dermatitis. It is the inflammation of skin caused by contact with substances, resulting in rashes, dry skin, and itching. And last example is the psoriasis. It is caused by unknown and triggered by trauma, infection, and stress. Thank you for watching. I hope you've learned something new from this video.